in here.
Okay, I'm going to open this. Welcome to Rick's Corner. I've got another Skype interview with the legend Pete GRYMKOWSKI, who I've been trying to reach, and he was going to come here, but we couldn't hook up. But the Skype seems to be working pretty well, and he's partners with Roger Collard on a project we're going to talk about. But to bring somebody out of the past that lived back in the days of the mecca of bodybuilding and what we did is totally interesting to all of you and me as well, and it's just an honor to have Pete. So, Pete, I'm really glad you contacted me. That you learn how to put Skype together, because it's not easy. But here we are, right? Here we are. And this is what it's all about.
Oh, yeah. I really appreciate you having me on. Also, the big delay was that, I had atrial fibrillation and a little bit of melanoma. It's all caused that skin cancer stuff. So I went and had a couple surgeries done, and I'm sorry for the delay.
I just had my EKG no longer than an hour ago. I have AFib as well. And I've had it for a few years. And so they give me blood thinners for it. He says, it's not bad. He says, you're okay, but stay on the blood thinners. That's fine. It works.
I was afraid to get on the blood thinners only because of the all the steroids I took years ago. I was on your big steroids.
Well, I think it's okay. They say it's okay. So.
Yeah, mine was, there was a lot of calcified plaque around the aorta.
Oh, I see.
And so I had relation trees to build up back on the
I'm getting a little bit of breaking up on your audio. Are you talking to the mic? No, that's good there. That's good.
Is it better?
Yeah, it's fine. That's fine. All right, Pete, when you first came out to California, do you remember exactly what year that was when you came down to Venice?
Yeah, it was 1977. In fact, let's see, I came out June 9th, 1977, entered the Mr. America contest that Arnold and Franco had at the Scottish Rite Auditorium on June 10th, the next day. And that's where I met Roger Collard, because I placed first in the tall class, Roger placed first in the medium class, and Danny Padilla placed first place in the short class.
Actually, I have that photo. Where'd you come from? What state was it?
Actually, I was training in Rochester, New York, but 4 months before the competition. See, what happened was, after the Mr. America contest, where I placed second at 71, 72, and 73, I quit training 74, 5, and 6. So February of 1977, I got back into training, but I did it in Orlando, Florida.
Oh, I see.
I went to Orlando, Florida in February of 1977. I went down at 192 pounds. I left Florida 4 months later in June of 77, June 9th, to enter the Mr. America contest, because I put all my size back on.
Yeah.
I went back on my whole routine of training, diet, everything I was doing. Back then, of course, I was doing a lot of steroids, too.
Well, people ask about that. It's no secret. It was actually legal back then as well. But what do you think back in those days that you took? What actually worked for you to give you the size you wanted? What actually worked?
I used everything. What I was doing was I went right back on a 3,000 milligram a day routine, and I was taking several shots a day plus about 3 bottles of orals. Now, 6 weeks before the competition, I got my body fat pretty low, down to about only a couple percent.
Yeah. And
that, when I jacked the dosage way up to 10,000 milligrams a day, taking 9 shots a day and 5 bottles of orals. 1 meal a day, but 5 protein drinks a day. So my protein was relative to the anabolic activity.
Boy,
I came, pretty cut, yeah.
You took a lot.
I took probably way too much, more than I needed to take. I probably could achieve similar results, but I only had 4 months to put on all that weight again, from 192 back up to 247. I believe I came in 252. I came in at, and I just felt maybe this was the way to go. But I was training under hypnosis, doing 7 hours a day, 7 hours. And I was training daytime in California, but then for the World Contest, I came in even better shape after I came to California. I was getting ready for the World in September, and Sprague wanted me to enter that America contest in July. And I just didn't want to get ready for the America necessarily. I didn't even want to enter it, but Ken kept saying, you're going to represent Gold's Gym and enter it. And then after I only placed third in that contest, so that's one Dave Johns won.
Yeah, but you carried a lot of size. Your delts were phenomenal.
Well, then I got ready for the world and entered the world, which I won in most muscular titles and everything for that. And then I stayed in Mexico for a few months in Acapulco there, where the contest was. Actually, I went to Mexico City and we did a talk show, which was all about health and fitness. And I lived at the Camino Real Hotel. And so that's how it all started.
I remember those days well. I remember seeing you not only at the gym, but on some auditions over in Hollywood. We were at some building, we were in a hallway, we were sitting and talking about the auditions. Everybody was waiting outside, we were kidding around. I don't know why it's in my head, but I never forgot it.
I remember you, and you were a big hero with everybody back then because you had designed the logos for Gold's Gym. You had designed World Gym logo.
But who would have known? Who would have known where it was going to go? You don't know back then. Just like we had custom cars, and today I wish I would have had them. I didn't know they were going to be popular.
Yeah, me too. I sold some, I remember selling a 1959 Corvette, a 1960 Corvette, $800 for one, $900 for another one, a 57 Chevy for $125. I wish I had it, a black hardtop.
Yeah.
Thing would have been $150,000
I'll show you something.
now.
I'll show you something. Just let me grab this.
A lot of people don't realize your music career either. That's another thing.
But I bought this guitar. It's a Fender Jazzmaster, and I bought it in 1957 for $400, brand new. And I still have not only the guitar but the original sales receipt. This guitar today is worth about $20,000. So it's the one thing I actually held on to. So
and you know how to play it too. A lot of people don't realize that you were around time of Beach, up the street from Gold's Gym on 4th Street. When we were on 2nd Street on 4th Street, and Broadway was where the Beach Boys recording studio. And a lot of people don't realize that you were as good back then. I thought you were as good as the Beach Boys. Honest to God, really.
I don't want to be flattering myself, but I was really good. I won the Battle of Bands at the Hollywood Palladium, and then I did the Hollywood Bowl and had a contract. And then I went into teaching guitar, and you think that's going to be your thing, and then, bodybuilding, of course, and then a left turn into pro wrestling, which I had no idea what was going to do. And that kind of took me where I wanted to go.
Yeah, you did very well with all of them. All of them. That's the amazing part. You were that artistic. You had that talent. That's why you designed such good logos.
Well, let me ask you a question. So you decided, at what point did you decide to buy Gold's Gym?
In, let's see, this would have been, I went over, there was Sprague, myself, Jim Mannion, all of us. We were going out to lunch at Zookie's. Yeah. We came back, and the gym came up for sale, and Dennis Malloy and Bob Fisher were ready to go to buy it. And I asked Sprague, I said, where are they going to get the money? He goes, I don't know, but he says they said they'll be back in a few hours. Yeah. I told him they got to be back today with the money. And so I said, well, what if I can get the money within 45 minutes? He says, well, go give it a shot. And Marion liked me. Sprague liked me, and we got along very well. She's a very nice person.
Very, very nice.
But yeah, kind of is a great guy as well. And so Marion told Ken, well, why don't you, she wasn't doing well at that time, and she says, why don't you, let Pete have it? And Ken says, well, okay, whoever gets the money first, I guess, is going to, So I ran out, and I had $27,000 in the bank, and I called Ed Connors, and I said, Ed, you got to, if you want to come in on this deal, I says, we got a shot to buy Gold's Gym. He goes, oh, yeah, that sounds good. And I got Denny Doyle involved. And so everybody bought it in, and then Denny sold out later, and then Tim came in, and I bought more percentage. I went from 33 1/3% up to 56%. Oh, yeah. And yeah, because I was doing exhibitions, so by the time Denny sold out, I don't know, a few months later, I was doing exhibitions and seminars, after winning the world title, and I ended up with 56%, and we decided, after I was traveling around the world doing exhibition seminars, I said, people, they didn't care about my routine. They wanted to know how much steroids I was taking, and what is Gold's Gym Venice really what happens as the movie Pumping Iron portrayed. And I said, Yeah, well, that's the lifestyle. You know, if you can't come out the Gold's Gym, I said maybe there's a way we'll bring Gold's Gym to you. And we started after I bought the gym. I bought the gym that day, and then we wound up starting. I wanted to do a franchise program, but I realized we didn't have any money left to register as franchisors all over the world, and so I decided. We found this unique lawyer after the advice of my brother Paul, who came in and said, why don't you guys just license the use of the name?
Yeah.
Any products that they sell that bears your trademark or trade name are purchased through you, but you don't have to force them to sell only their product. I said, that could work out pretty well, because I remember when I was down in Florida, Arthur Jones, who designed Nautilus equipment, was telling me that he tried to franchise Nautilus gyms, and a lot of people, but you and me know that, but a lot of people don't know. And somebody sued him saying that, a couple of people who bought a franchise or ended up with a franchise, apparently the rumor I heard when I was down in Florida was that they were doing a lot of cocaine, and they were just looking for a reason to sue Arthur because he had deep pockets. So they claimed that because he had blue equipment, made him blue and put blue carpeting and blue drapes in the building, that it gave the people a cold feeling. Now, how cold can you be in Florida?
Exactly.
So,
oh my God, I never heard that.
And they won the lawsuit, and Arthur got all PO'd, and he said, I'm just going to, anybody who buys a package of equipment now can have the name if they want for their facility, and he walked away from it. So I thought, I don't want to get in a lawsuit franchising, so how are we going to do this without franchising? And it ended up that licensing the use of the name, which it relieved us from liabilities, for one thing, because all they were doing is licensing a name. If the name didn't work, they could take the name down, give it back, and there's no liability involved. We weren't forcing them to sell our products or follow a set routine of anything. So the licensing really worked, and what worked mostly for our benefit was that even though I gave them a territory, because it wasn't a franchise and they were only allowed to sell our equipment and our shirts and hats, they had the option to sell our shirts and clothing and supplements, but we weren't forcing them to. It allowed me legally to go into department stores. So we opened up about 10,000 stores all over the world. We were in Harrods in London, we were in Macy's. We had that whole section when Dennis Tinerino, myself, and all the guys went to Macy's and Herald Square in New York. But then we ended up with Macy's, Penny's, Bloomingdale's, Sports Authority, 6,000 GNC stores for supplements. So it turned out to be a blessing in disguise.
And I didn't make a penny.
Yeah, isn't that right? I found that out later, which you could have and probably should have got royalties on, because...
Who knew at the time? I didn't know. It's all new to me. It's all new to me. But it did what it did, and I made a name by doing it, and I did other stuff, so it's okay.
Yeah. Well, maybe you can make a living now. Look what you're doing. You're a millionaire, and you're doing well, and congratulations. I mean, you did very well. Yeah.
How long did you continue? Well, listen, when you bought the gym, was it on Pacific or it was on 2nd Street?
No, it was on 2nd Street already. But after we had bought it, what was strange was that. Let's see, what was it? Well, Robert Blake bought the building, and I don't know what happened, but for some reason he tripled our rent, and
it was next to the Pussycat Theater.
Yeah, it was next to that theater there. You bet. And he tripled the rent. I don't know whether he was watching movies or not, but somebody had said maybe it came from World Gym, that he tripled the rent.
Maybe.
But it almost bankrupted us. But what happened was that at the time, Serge Nubret had been in town, and he had a big financial investor, Paco Arce, who was also in the Elizabeth Arden Company, and Paco was looking at a building on Main Street in Venice, which was just if you did a straight line through our current Gold's Gym in Hampton Drive, you would see the building that Paco tried to get. Well, for some reason, Paco had some problems coming back into the country because I guess he was giving away some steroids or whatever, and somehow he was stopped at the border. And the story was Ben Weider gave the feds a call and said he was bringing in steroids or something.
Well, Paco had money.
Oh, he had big money. Yes, he lived in Castle in Spain. I guess he owned the Elizabeth Art and Company.
Right, and Paco Rabanne. I think it was Paco Rabanne and Brand as well.
Yeah, Paco Rabanne and Paco Arce both had big money. Yeah, but make a long story short, they decided not to come back and do that project. So I went and talked with Larry Fields, who owned a bunch of buildings in that whole area there, which was called Ghost Town at the time, if you remember that.
Yeah.
It was all crack houses and everything. So we wound up talking to Larry, and one interesting thing was that when I got Derek to become president of the Chamber of Commerce, we worked with the police department, helped clean up that neighborhood back there, get rid of some of those crack houses and, convince the crack dealers that maybe it was better for them to get up and leave, unless they want to, they don't want to lose business if they've got bullet holes through the walls. So anyways, and they ended up moving. I just said, it's best if you guys all go 4 or 5 streets up if you don't want problems. And they did. They left, and rather than having a problem. And we cleaned up that area nice. And, of course, now it's all studios in there, TriStar and all the big ones came in the neighborhood. They're Shy a Day. And
how long did you have gold before you sold it?
We bought it in 1979 and sold it in 99, so we had it 20 years.
You had a long time.
Yeah, a long time, definitely. Because Sprague, I think, had it 4 years, I believe.
Yeah, he had about 4 years. And then, I don't know if anybody knows this, I know you do, but Bud Danitz and Dave Sachs had it prior to that. Remember them?
Yes, they did. Very interesting.
For like a year. And that was it.
Yeah, it was a year?
It was a year, I think.
Yeah, about a year. Yeah, that sounds about right.
A lot of people don't know the history of it. It's too bad because it does have a history. And Gold's Gym now in Venice, where it is, it's a whole different thing than it was years ago. There's not even a picture of Joe Gold in there. And if you were to ask the current members, do you know Joe Gold? No, they don't have a clue.
Isn't that a shame? Oh, they didn't know who I was either. I know some people walked in and said, hey, there's Pete GRYMKOWSKI around. He said, well, who's that?
Say no, but I'm Joe Gold.
That's right.
So,
I heard they're losing their lease. I guess if Google bought the building and it's going to take the building, and they've got, I believe, a little less than 7 or 8 months left to go in there, and that's going to close down.
That's funny because I did a joke logo for them and changed the name from Gold's to Google's Gym, and I had the same guy on the bars. Rather than it has weights, it's 2 computers. And he's wearing glasses. I did it for fun. I just was joking around. I hate to see it go. It's a great location, for what they do.
Yeah, great location. It's a shame that they haven't found the building to keep that flagship alive.
There's nothing down there. There's no buildings.
Nothing.
It's not with parking.
No, nothing. Built. Interesting thing. I remember when Ken Sprague sold us the business. They had an actual lawsuit with Joe Gold and Arnold. For some reason, and he stated that. They could not put a building. Joe couldn't put a gym within 60 miles of Gold's.
Right.
And after I bought the gym, I said, Paul got good friends with Mike Uris, and we were all working together on the franchise stuff because, we didn't want the same people jumping ship on Gold's and going to World or going from World, taking the opening, we're doing grand opening sales and then closing up and then coming and doing the same thing with the Gold's name. So we worked together, and we worked together in a lot of it. In fact, a lot of people don't realize that I was training both at Gold's and World Gym before I even bought Gold's.
That's right.
I was getting the best of all workouts, with the equipment and all the different variety of activity. Well, I dropped a lawsuit against Arnold, and I had 56%, so I was a major stockholder. I dropped lawsuits against Arnold and Joe. I went and bought some equipment, but then we started working with equipment companies, closed up the Gold's Gym Equipment Company, took all the equipment that I had bought, donated it to Muscle Beach through Dave Johns to the probation department.
Okay.
So some of the Muscle Beach, some of them went all the different areas, but we donated to the probation department. And I decided, people said, why are you supporting your enemies? I said, well, they're not enemies. I said, they're competition. But I said, the bottom line is, if you had competition, how could you become number one if you can't have number 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 in the same neighborhood? So I said, I've got to build up, if we're going to call this a real mecca bodybuilding, let's build up Muscle Beach. Let's build up, I called Norm Davish. I said, come on out and put Powerhouse Gym. We'll get there's a building right on Main Street.
I remember that.
I said, Joe, get Arnold maybe to build you a building. And there was one a block away. I said, look, you come right in a block away. If you want to get one next door, would even be better. I said, we have everything in one city block. So it ended up a block away. Everything turned out nice. We had Gold's Gym, World Gym, Powerhouse, Muscle Beach, all within walking distance. Yeah. Rose Cafe, we went over there, told them, hey, make a menu. What was the other restaurant?
Firehouse.
Firehouse, yeah. We encouraged everybody to start doing diet stuff and let's make this whole thing the Mecca Body. Arnold moved in with his building at the telephone company right across from us. The gas company, whatever that was, right across from us. He put his first office over there. Then he started his restaurant up the street, Shotzi's on Main. And you remember, yeah. So it was that whole, you could walk out, and then we put our Gold's Gym University right by Arnold's building right there. And so we had Gold's University, we had Arnold's restaurant, we had Shotzi, we had Powerhouse, World Gym, Gold's Gym. Yeah, it was fantastic, and that's what created that whole lifestyle right by the beach. It was tremendous.
What made you decide to get out of it?
I had to go in for open heart surgery. I ended up with 17 blockages, and they operated on 5 bypass, 2 stents. I opened all the rest up with chelation, so I got the 94 to 100% blocks. Opened up through medical. And then went on chelation for ever since. I'm still doing it, and opened up all the rest, and I feel great now. I've got the atrial fibrillation, but that's from calcified plaque around the valves of the aorta. And of course, calcified plaque basically is from cholesterol, non-utilizable cholesterol forming with what is it? It's cholesterol forming with calcium, a non-utilizable calcium.
Right.
So a person breaks, like when women break their hip, what happens is that you get bone fragments through the body and it dissolves into non-utilizable calcium. And why do women die? Because they all they need to keep alive is to get chelation treatments and get rid of that non-utilizable calcium. But the medical profession can't patent chelation, which takes out that non-utilizable calcium. So what they do is the women die because of that non-utilizable calcium. But if they remove the non-utilizable calcium instead of using Lipitor and that kind of stuff, but the government doesn't do that because the pharmaceutical companies can't patent it.
No, that makes sense. Do you think that the heart issues, the arteries, were due to all the steroids you took? Did they ever tell you that?
It could be. I think a lot of it was due to stress because I'm a high-strung person. Because I grew up with a lot of stress, and we had a family business. I had my own business. By the time I was 14, I was making more money running a building maintenance company, doing post-construction cleanup with 67 employees. I went out, I'll never forget when I just turned 14 or 13 or 14. I went out and I was making thousands of dollars a week back in the 60s, and went out and bought a new Cadillac Coupe de Ville and then 2 new Corvettes, and one I stripped it down just to a race car and built a dragster out of one of the Corvettes. And I had 67 employees at that time. My family was always in business, so I think a lot of it was stress, but I do attribute the steroids for creating stress because, when you got a high anabolic activity, it does cause stress. So, yeah.
What'd you end up doing after you sold the gym? What'd you do with your life?
Started traveling around buying up a lot of properties. I had a home in Hawaii, one in Oahu, one in Cancun, in south of Cancun. We had an island in Florida. I had a house on the intercoastal side where I brought a yacht, which I was living on for a while. I bought a new yacht, but then eventually brought it up and put it behind my house in Florida, and then also had a condo on the ocean side. So I had a lot of properties, but I sold off everything, and I just recently got into another business. My brother started doing hydrogen, because what we found was that doing samples of waters from like the Bermuda Triangle and the Fountain of Youth mineral springs around Cancun and Florida, and also going over to Lourdes, France, testing the water and finding out that the main components of healing waters is hydrogen. Now, being that the body is 78% fluid, and that the fluid consists of H2O, of course, hydrogen and oxygen makes water. We can breathe all the oxygen we want, but how do we get hydrogen into our bodies? So what we did was, there is a way to use magnesium, decompose it, recompose it into an element, and then what we do is we mix it with cranberry juice. I'll put these 2 H2 Force tablets, that's the name of the company, H2 Force, and I take and put 2 tablets in a half a liter of water or juice, which I like cranberry juice, and let it sit for 10 minutes and dissolve, and just shake a little bit, and then open up that cap, and boy, it's like an explosion. But what happens is that hydrogen also helps support the mitochondrial ATP production. So now you get this tremendous energy throughout the entire body of 3 trillion cells. Our bodies have approximately 3 trillion cells. And with the mitochondria around the center of that's revolving around the nucleus of that each cell, to build that energy, instead of taking these energy drinks, which are loaded with sugar and caffeine.
Yeah, they are. They sure are.
Now we get this energy from hydrogen, and this works phenomenal. Everybody who's using it, I've got fighters from Brazil, I've got fighters up here using it, I've got, there's bodybuilders, there's movies, actresses, there's women, physique stars, there's women bikini champions. They're all using this stuff, which is just tremendous for energy purposes. So the hydrogen now, it not only does it increase the ATP production, it supports basically mitochondrial ATP production. It also increases body energy on a cellular level, builds endurance and strenuous physical exercise, helps to reduce excessive oxidative damage, decreases lactic acid formation in muscles, prevents early fatigue, protects against micro-injuries, blocks free radical-induced overtraining, supports rapid recovery, and prevents and recovers soft tissue injuries. And it's not only stuff that we've experienced. This also comes from the Molecular Hydrogen Institute of Japan. The Russians are the ones who came over, these guys from Moscow came over to invent this type of stuff here in the United States, and now they're set a big plant in Nevada, where they just bought a big manufacturing and bottling plant. So we're going to be, my brother does the medical industry side of it, and I'm handling the sport industry side of it. So,
how long does it take to actually feel the results from it?
I start feeling it pretty much right away. If you do it before a workout, that's when it's most noticeable. Okay. Whether it's a bodybuilding workout, whether it's a cardiovascular style workout, whatever the case. Yeah, I like it before a workout, but I'll mix up a bottle of it in the morning, and 2 tablets last the whole day.
Oh,
it's very reasonable.
You got to send me a bottle.
Oh, I'm going to get you a whole case. So,
okay.
yeah,
and I'm going to put this up on this interview. The GRYMKOInternational.com is where they order it, right?
Yes, GRYMKO International.
Just tell them it's on Rick's Corner so they know that that where you're getting your business from. You like to know where your business comes from, so we know we get it from the show. You know that this helped, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
And what about the Mr. America contest?
Now, in America, what we did was myself and Bruce Ebel, who has a bunch of our Gold's Gym. Here's a young guy years ago that started with Gold's Gym, worked in one of the gyms, ended up with getting one himself, and now he's on the verge of, let's see, he's opened his 13th or 14th Gold's Gym.
I did a documentary for Bruce out here 2 years ago. He came out and interviewed me for a documentary.
Yes. In fact, he's doing a movie now. He's
right. You and I. We went to the little preview over there in Venice when you were in town, remember?
Yes,
and I brought my daughter and Ferrigo, everybody was there.
Yeah, and he wants to finish the movie now with the culmination of the Mr. America contest. So
that's perfect.
That's going to be incredible. So he's now planning on doing about 25 more Gold's Gyms, and he's probably knocking down $100 million a year for his pocket. So the guy's a real entrepreneur. I give him a lot of credit.
That's amazing.
So he wound up picking up this Mr. America title, buying the Mr. America title, and now we're going to hold the first, what we call the revival of the Mr. America title. We're going to hold it with the Mr. Rochester Championships in Rochester, New York. Jim Raquel, who has since left the IFBB and NPC, he was a head judge and also secretary, I believe, of the NPC, and he's left, and he's on board with us. I've got some of my crew from Gold's Gym back together, Tim Kimber, his wife, who used to be our executive secretary.
Yeah.
And we've got Roger Callard involved with us. We've got a guy named Dan Olson who's with the Cancer Society, and they have a home for children, which is kind of like the Ronald McDonald House. It's called Christopher's Haven in Boston, Massachusetts. And so we want to tie in something where we can get some charity activity going, and we also we're doing our first event on August 8th in Rochester, New York, the revival of the Mr. America event. We've got Red LaReal. I don't know if you remember him.
I remember Red, sure.
Yes, and Mr. America way back.
Yes.
Bill Pearl is coming in.
Oh, awesome.
Sherry Goggins, she'll help judge the women's. We've got so many celebrities involved that'll be coming in for this event. We've got Roger Callard, Danny Padilla, a lot of people up in the Northeast that are supporting this whole thing. And
that's awesome.
They're all going to be there. They wanted me to say hello to you today as well.
Nice.
Everybody knows you, Rick. I mean, you are, with the logos. Else like the Godfather of bodybuilding.
That's funny. I go out with my girlfriend. She says, "My God, everywhere you go, someone approaches you." I said, "It's true. It's true." And people are nice, and I always like to just stop and talk to people. It's what we do. We have to give back to the community. Roger's going to call us on the phone for a 3-way conversation as soon as we close this out. So we're going to stay on for a minute. Okay.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm going to close this one out because we've gone a long time. Twice as long as I normally do, but it was very interesting, and I'm really glad that you were able to call in and Skype with me because people want to hear from you. Get Pete GRYMKOWSKI, get Pete. Oh, now I got Pete. And I'll put some photos of the past in here along with this, and it'll be a nice interview. It's really nice to talk to you.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to drive these people to your website to find out about the pills and also the Mr. America so they can see what's going on and they can order something from you.
Wonderful.
That'll be awesome.
You're wonderful. Thank you.
I hear my phone going off. That's probably Roger calling. Stay on the line 1 minute. I just want to say thank all of you viewers out there for Rick's Corner for tuning in and watching Legends of the Past. I keep trying to bring new people. Getting Roger and Pete is like a dream come true. You can't get any better than this. This is the best of the bunch, and I'm just thrilled to death. So thank you guys for watching Rick's Corner, and stay tuned for more because we will be back. And you can wave goodbye to them now, Pete. Put your hand right there. Just wave. That's it. And I'll use my other hands because I'm missing a finger and I got a wrist brace. Okay, thanks so much.
It's rickdrasin.com. He is the equalizer, baby. See you next time.